So here is what works, okay? If you're an Industry 3.0 company and you're going to digitally transform, you're going to do it in 2 steps, okay? Number one, you're going to become a smart business. And that's going to take 3 to 5 years. And you have no idea what that journey is going to look like from a 1,000-foot view. And here's why, because you're going to get smarter over the course of time and you're going to change course. Okay, right now, think of it. You're a child when you start your digital transformation journey. All the companies we've ever worked with, let me put this in perspective. This is pretty crazy. We were just talking about this yesterday. I can't mention the name because I didn't get permission, but it's a company no one's basically heard of. But they build HVAC equipment, air handling equipment, basically is what they do. We have 1,300 companies in our digital transformation maturity assessment data set. I have personally done digital transformation maturity assessments for 200 or 300 companies. Okay. I think we've done 600 total. Our company has. And then the rest of the companies that are in the data set were either self-assessed or we pulled them from other assessments. We rescored them using our methodology. There's only one company we have ever worked with who was qualified to lead their own digital transformation journey. And the people who work here know exactly who it is. They already had a group of engineers. They had already been studying our material partly, but also they had already built the correct team. They already had transformative and disruptive leadership in the organization. They had already built a digital transformation team made up of the right resources, and it was organized and given the correct amount of authority. They already had a digital strategy. Okay, they didn't have an architecture, which we helped them with. We had them build their unified namespace, but we were able to do the DTMA for them, and then they took the DTMA, which filled in the gaps that they didn't have, and they've run with their own journey. It's of all the companies we've ever worked with, this is the only company that didn't have to use a third party to get them started in the early iterations of their journey. That is the early use cases. Okay. But other than that, every organization ends up having to use a third party at least to get started, to support them, resources, help write minimum technical requirements, whatever. But this journey happens in 2 steps. Okay. Step number 1 is you become a smart business, and that takes 3 to 5 years. Okay. It's connect, collect, store, analyze, visualize, find patterns, predict, report, solve. Every single company goes through those steps. One of the flaws in the EU's digital transformation, or the EU's Industry 4.0 maturity scale, is that it assumes that a business, the steps, the maturity steps, one of the major flaws in everyone else's assessment is that, or maturity scale, is that it grades the whole business in one category. So it'll say, is the business connected? Is the business collecting? Is the business storing data? Well, what percentage? Which percentage of the areas, and by what reason? Is whether or not I'm connected to equipment, collecting data and storing that data? Am I storing all of it? Am I connected to all equipment? And if I'm not, why not? Is it a function of the age of the equipment? If you look at most maturity scales tell you at which step you are in the organization. No organization is at just one step. In some area, they might be in the connect phase or in the connect step. In some area, they might be in the analyze step. But remember, the first step of the journey is connect, collect, store, right? That's data stuff. Then you analyze and visualize. So you're pulling out data, turning it into information and visualizing it. And then the last step is you're using software, machine learning, to connect to that stuff that's stored, find patterns, predict, report, and solve. Right? That's the machine learning component, automating the business. Okay? The best way to do this, we created these minimum or the three pillars of digital transformation, or four pillars of digital technology. You build common technology. You don't go to Rockwell and say, hey, we're going to use Connected Enterprise, or we're going to use Azure, we're going to use... You create a technological ecosystem like like Amazon did, or like Tesla did. And then you write minimum technical requirements. If I want to use your software, Mr. Software Vendor, it has to meet these minimum technical requirements. If it doesn't, then I have to account for putting a special integration between your smart thing and my ecosystem. And that costs a lot more money. And every time I make a change in my ecosystem, or I make a change in your smart thing, then I've got to also spend money on updating the integration between our two things. We've created four pillars for that technology, the common technology you're using in your infrastructure. So your protocols, this is where MQTT comes in, right? So we say that it has to be edge driven. So that is, the smart thing needs to inform us of its data, not us polling it for its data. It needs to inform us. And if there's a change, that change just gets sent to us. So if I add a new tag, or I add a new namespace, or I add a new column in a table, it needs to be reported to us. Rather than in the centerpiece of the ecosystem, I have to make an update to some integration so that that new piece of my model, my data model, shows up. Okay, so number one, it's going to be edge driven. Number two, it's got to be report by exception. This goes to scalability. We only need to be told what's changed. That is, when a data point, when a value changes in a specific data point, we need to know that changed. We don't need to know the other. It turns out it's 93% of data points. 93% of data points don't change at least once every 60 seconds. But only about 7% of the stuff, the data that you have in your business, is going to change at some high frequency. So, and less than 1/100th of 1% is going to change faster than once per second, believe it or not. So we only want to be told of the things that have changed. Okay. Number three, it needs to be lightweight. That is, the transmission of the data in your business needs to be super lightweight. The packets, the headers, everything needs to be small. Okay. Goes to scalability. And the last thing is, it needs to be open architecture. If you're a smart thing and we're going to put you in our ecosystem, you have to report to us how not just the data that you think is important to us, but we also need to know how you organized it. So we need to know the information that you create in your software, Mr. Smart Thing. So a really good example here would be, like in a PLC, an open architecture PLC is going to expose things like, what does our logic actually look like? So how is the logic structured? How are the sequences structured? It's going to contain things like cycle time on the processor, how much memory is consumed, all that stuff, right? That's open architecture, okay? The second step in digital transformation, okay, once you're a smart business, so now I've got first time I'm mentioning unified namespace. That's in the centerpiece of the business. Common technology, because it meets those four pillars, right? We generally use MQTT, but you can use any broker technology in the center of your business, okay? Once you become a smart business, that is, I'm fully connected, I'm collecting everything, I'm storing everything, I'm analyzing and visualizing on a use case by use case basis, but the most important thing is collecting every data point, I'm connected to every smart thing, I'm collecting every data point, and I'm storing everything, so that I can then either analyze, visualize, or I can just use software to find patterns, predict, report, and solve. Once I'm smart, now I can plug into a digital supply chain. How can you do that? Well, all the events in my business are available. And if I'm using broker technology and I'm organizing the way the data is structured using a common standard like ISA 95 Part 2, which we support, which is enterprise site area line cell, then I can make available certain data points for external consumers in my organization. I can plug into a digital supply chain. I can allow my consumers to consume information about the status of their order. I can allow my suppliers to consume information about my schedule and what my needs are going to be for raw materials. Moreover, I can expose what I have available in my requisitions department. It's things that I need vendors to quote on. Okay. So you plug into a digital supply chain. So what does that mean? Let's go back to our original foundation. I'm going to become a smart business. A smart business isn't just about remaining competitive or serving your mission. It's also about being able to attract the employee of the future, which is a huge problem in manufacturing. Okay. And who is the employee of the future? It is a technologist who is enabled to solve their own problems. In the first major step of digital transformation, organizations, all the use cases, the way that you digitally transform, they're focused on unlocking potential on the plant floor through people by solving those people's problems, giving them the ability to solve their own problems and asking experts to solve the ones they can't solve for themselves, but in a common ecosystem. All right, hey gang, as a quick reminder, if you want to sign up for our MES Bootcamp, which is starting in September and running through the end of November, where we're going to teach you how to build your own manufacturing execution system with core capabilities, go to iiot.university or click on the link up here. And I'll see you guys in the very first session.